The Lakers coaching search has felt very erratic and extremely spontaneous at times. However, there is a candidate that the Lakers did bring in besides Dan Hurley to meet in person, and his name is James Borrego, who a lot of people around the league believe is the Lakers' true leading candidate. So we're going to talk a little bit more about James Borrego and talk what he's about really. And then also on the Lobby podcast, Anthony Davis was talking about his future in basketball and how much he enjoys playing for the purple and gold. What's good, y'all, and welcome to another Lakers Digest video. I'm your host, Okechi Apakama, and before we get into everything we have for you for today's video, guys, I want to bring your attention to something. There is 78% of you guys who have recently watched your videos who are not subscribed to the channel just yet, and if you guys want more of that Laker news, like reactions, trade rumors, updates on the draft that's coming in a couple of weeks, you guys want to come right here to Lakers Digest so you guys do not miss any of those updates. Now, with that out the way, guys, let's hop straight into the topics we have for you today, as James Borrego is seen as the leading candidate. So, we've heard this a couple of times now. We had heard that with JJ Redick being one of the leaders, and then we also heard that as with Dan Hurley being the Lakers' actual top choice. But with all the dust settling now, it seems that James Borrego is looked at as a leading candidate. So, according to a report, the Lakers coaching search has kind of been chaotic at times, like I said, but it seems that James Borrego is the leading candidate. So a little bit deeper into that article there. So he is seen by league personnel as a leading candidate for the Lakers for the head coaching job, although the Lakers coaching search has been muddied by the unsuccessful pursuit of UConn head coach Dan Hurley. Borrego has been credited with boosting New Orleans' offensive approach during this past season while amidst Willie Green's staff. So, talking a little bit about how James Borrego was a massive help to the New Orleans Pelicans and what they did offensively, especially with their two guys at the helm, Brandon Ingram and Zion Williams, to go along with the rest of that young roster there. So he's been credited to giving them a very high offensive boost, and also he did the same thing as well earlier with the Charlotte Hornets, a team that didn't really find too many success in terms of wins, but they did have a very, very tremendous offense, especially when LaMelo Ball was healthy and playing for that Hornets team and was able to get up and down the pace and really score at will. But let's talk a little bit more about James Borrego, as James Borrego's candidacy is something that has to be just looked a little bit closer at, because we've had a little closer look of JJ Redick and then also Dan Hurley as well, but we haven't talked too much about James Borrego, and he is one of the few guys that has actually been confirmed to meet in person with the Los Angeles Lakers besides Dan Hurley. So it is very true that the Lakers think highly of a guy like James Borrego to bring him in person, and not only to have those initial contacts beforehand. But James Albert Borrego was born and raised in New Mexico, and he is a guy that started his coaching tenure a little bit after his playing career in his collegiate days at the University of San Diego. After he played 3 seasons there, he coached for that school for 2 more seasons as an assistant coach, and then everything changed for him as in the summer of 2003, where he got a job as an assistant video coordinator for the San Antonio Spurs. And that's when he got acclimated to that Popovich coaching staff, because he was able to get a raise and then get higher up, and then he was able to get an assistant coaching position, and then he stayed with the San Antonio Spurs for about 7 seasons. But he's got a pretty long coaching list here. Borrego does. Like I said, he spent those 7 seasons there with the San Antonio Spurs, starting as an assistant video coordinator. And then he was also part of those NBA championship teams that the Spurs had in 2005 and 2007. And then, like I said beforehand, he started his coaching career at the University of San Diego, where he also played at. And then, so Borrego has been around the coaching tree just a little bit, and then not also including some of his time as an assistant coach. That's where he started to really get his bearings there as an assistant coach. He was an assistant coach for the New Orleans Pelicans for about 2 seasons under Monty Williams, and then also he moved on to the Orlando Magic, where he became the lead assistant. I believe that was his first time being a lead assistant in 2015 with the Orlando Magic, and then he eventually took over for Jacques Vaughn because Jacques Vaughn was fired by the Orlando Magic that year. He coached the Orlando Magic for about 30 games. Funny enough, his first actual NBA head coaching game was against the Los Angeles Lakers, where the Lakers lost in that game. So he was able to pick up his first win against the Lakers. And so he stayed there with the Magic for a couple more seasons until he went back to, or actually, no, he got his head coaching gig a few years later for the Charlotte Hornets, and that's where most people know James Borrego from. And then after that, he was fired after a couple of seasons, and then he has been an elite assistant for the New Orleans Pelicans on Willie Green's staff. So he's kind of had his hand in a couple of coaching trees. So he was there with those Spurs teams in those successful years. And then he was also there for some of those middling teams for the Orlando Magic and then also the New Orleans Pelicans as well. So he's been around the NBA for a little bit. And so he knows his a little thing or two. He's also one of the few guys the Lakers have been in conversations with who probably has the most head coaching experience, which is gonna bode well for him, I think, just because out of all the guys who have been in talks with, he's the guy that actually has been a head coach, so he has made those big decisions. He hasn't done it obviously at the highest level, as he was a head coach for the Orlando Magic, and then interim head coach for the Orlando Magic, and then also the head coach for the Charlotte Hornets, so he hasn't really seen too much of that playoff atmosphere. But he has been a guy that at least, at the very least, has done it. So that is a very important deciding factor when you're looking at guys in these different coaching candidates. And then as far as him being a guy that can really help their offense, while the Lakers' offense really did shine well, especially in that second half of the season where D'Angelo Russell really picked things up and also guys like Rui Hachimura played extremely well, this guy can really build the Lakers a very solid offense and finally push for what the Lakers have been trying to get to, and an Anthony Davis centered offense. That's something that's really been kind of like missing in the transition here from like LeBron James to Anthony Davis. I think it's transitioning not only just the leadership tools, but also the offensive responsibilities as well onto Anthony Davis. I know he's got a ton to worry about on the defensive side of the ball, but that's why you get defensive players like guys like Jared Vanderbilt to really help out in that area. So if Borrego can be a guy that can lead the Lakers and build a competent offense, so the Lakers really wouldn't have to worry, especially when you have two star studs in Anthony Davis and LeBron James, I think that can bode really well for the Los Angeles Lakers. And then, like I said, being a guy that's been there, done that before, that really helps your case to coming in contact or to becoming a head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. And we kind of got to think about this a little bit back when the Lakers were going through their hiring process and when they eventually found Frank Vogel. I think a couple of similarities to this, as Frank Vogel was more known as a defensive guy, and he wasn't really the Lakers' first choice. He was one of the guys they interviewed, and he was a guy that obviously had a good resume, being with the Indiana Pacers during some of their Eastern Conference Finals runs, and then how well they played in the playoffs with those Paul George-led teams. So he had a little bit of that track record helping him out, and then obviously that bode well for the regular season for Los Angeles Lakers as they were able to win a championship out of it. So you never truly know what you can get out of some of these guys who aren't really the biggest names out there, and like I said, being a guy who's been there, done that before really helps your case. So that leads me on to my next topic here, and it is Anthony Davis comments on his future. So AD was recently on a podcast talking about his future in basketball, and he talked a whole bunch of different things, really, mostly about gaming and his love for it. But Anthony Davis was talking about how he still gets those chills coming into Staples Center, or crypto as some people would name it. So those bright lights still amaze him, and he really still gets those chills, and he has that excitement and energy to come out and play basketball every day. He says he is fueled in the future to really have his kids, his younger kids, really see him grow and play, because he has his oldest daughter who is about the age where she is comprehending all those things and really remembers those interactions. But some of his younger sons, who are about, I believe, just under 3, so they don't really have the memory or recollection of what's going on in the moment. So he wants to play long enough where his sons are able to see him play, and I'm assuming play at a high level, because Anthony Davis is a guy that really holds himself to an extremely high standard, despite what the narrative is about him. And while he was signed for that big contract, that big 5-year deal he signed the year prior, Anthony Davis says he was looking to play past his contract and hopefully beyond, because he was talking about how he's played already 13 seasons in the NBA while he's only age 31. And obviously, barring health, this guy, he wants to play as long as he possibly can, which is very good news for Los Angeles Lakers fans, especially if Anthony Davis can play healthy like he did last season, where he was tremendous. Got NBA All Second Team, got NBA All Defense First Team, should have got Defensive Player of the Year, but that's a conversation for another day. So he has been a guy that's really laid it on the lawn for the Los Angeles Lakers, and I think is ready to carry that torch in being the leader or the North Star for the Los Angeles Lakers, and be that guy to really take the mantle from LeBron James into the next era of Laker basketball. Well, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Make sure you guys comment down below. What do you guys think about James Borrego and what he can do as a head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers? Do you think it'll be a good hire? Do you think you're more against it? Or do you think we should go with one of the other guys that has been talked about, like a JJ Redick or one of those other candidates that the Lakers have been linked to? Let us know in the comments down below. I have been your host, Okechi Apakama, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.